What's up guys, how you all doing? Hey, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out how to build our very own cloud system again, but this time we're going to be upping the power and we're going to be doing this with a Raspberry Pi version 4 which has USB 3.0, and we're going to be using some different software called the nextcloud, which is all free and open source. It even comes with an app for your phone and all that. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then stay tuned because it's coming up right here, right now on MI Sperry. Okay guys, so what we've got here is the nextcloud, which this is basically an open source software that works just like that one that we did before. What was that? It was OwnCloud, I think is what we did before. But that one you had to like pay. It was like a service if you wanted, any meat to it. This one is free, was recommended by you guys. So I know there's tons of others out there, so please don't tell me, oh, this one's better and that one's better. I know there's tons of ones that are out there. You just need to pick one that's good for you. This is simply one of them that is open source and free for you to use. And what I liked about it is that it came with an app for your phone as well that was totally free and downloadable and all that jazz. So let's go ahead and get to starting to build this thing, shall we? So first thing we need to do is we're going to need to get the software. So we've got our Raspberry Pi that's completely fresh. Now, I've already built this on the Raspberry Pi 4, so I just want to warn you. I'm doing this on my Raspberry Pi 3B Plus because we're going to compare the two at the end and see what the speed increase will be once we get USB 3, because I think we should be able to support streaming and all that fun, cool stuff. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that. So I'm going to be doing this on the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, but the procedure is exactly the same, whether you're on the 4, the 3, any of the Raspberry Pis, actually. It's very simple procedure. Now, and real quick, for those of you that don't know what a cloud is, basically, we've heard all this about the cloud, how you can store your personal information in the cloud, which I suggest not doing. But if you want to have a place where you can store your pictures, you can call them up anywhere in the world, and you have like a vault that's secured where it's backed up between multiple hard drives, and that way you don't have to worry about a hard drive failing or a computer failing and everything going away and all your precious photos and everything being deleted, but yet you want the security of a device that's yours and that you manage, and you don't have to worry about who else might be looking at your personal stuff. So I still recommend buying yourself your own like actual good quality network attached storage or something like that you can sit off to the side at your house that is kind of isolated to you, and that way you don't have anybody trying to hack in. But with all that said, let's go ahead and get started on the nextcloud. So first thing we need to do, as always, is you'll need to do a sudo apt-get update, and this will update all the repositories and everything to make sure that you get the latest packages. Once you've done that, then all we need to do is first we need to install Apache, which Apache is a web server basically, so it hosts up web pages, the whole HTML thing and all that. So we're going to do a sudo apt-get install. I'm going to be looking at two screens, so forgive me for looking back and forth. We're going to do the install Apache 2, and so once that gathers the information, we will tell it yes, and then it will do the install. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll be back when that is finished installing. Okay, and just like that, it is done. Now we have one more round of installations. We need to install a SQL server. We need to install a lot of PHP things. So there's a command. I can put that down in the description, or really there's a link that I'll put down in the description that actually a couple links that's going to be to some very good information online, taking you step by step through how to do all of this as well. And I'll probably write an Instructable on this as well, just so for those of you that want that step-by-step written procedure, you'll have that as well. So I'm just going to paste that in. I'll give you guys a minute to kind of take a look at it if you want to pause the video so that way you can write all of this down. However you want to do it, but I'll put a link down below. So okay, so we're going to put all that in. We're going to hit enter. It's going to gather the information that we need. We're going to say yes, and then we let that roll. So I'm going to pause, and we'll be back once this is all installed, okay? Okay, and with the magic of time, that is now all installed. So what we're going to do is, now that we've installed the PHP package, we need to activate it by doing a restart of our Apache. So we're going to do a sudo service apache to restart. All right, and so that should restart the service. Now to test it and make sure that it's working, let's come over here and we can type in our IP address of our device. I think we're 248. Hit enter, and there's the Apache default page right there. So we know that our Apache web server is working. So it all came out great and good. So now we got to create some folders. We're going to temporarily create a data folder for our our nextcloud installation, where all the data and the database is going to be stored, and then we're going to move that over to our RAID volume once we create that. So let's go ahead and create our temporary place just to make sure the install of nextcloud goes okay. So we're going to cd to our var www HTML directory, which is like the root directory for our web page. Now we're going to enter the curl command to go grab the latest version of the nextcloud, and again, link down below to get all of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. It's going to go zipping by, but link down below to check out for these commands and whatnot, so check that out. I don't know, this one's usually fairly quick, but it may take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and stop until it's done. Okay, so now that that is finished, we're going to go ahead and set up our directories. Now we should be able to see that there is a nextcloud directory now located in here. So inside that nextcloud directory, we're going to cd into it. We're going to create a data folder. So we're going to do a sudo make directory -p data. And that should make our directory. We need to give it some permissions. So we're going to do a sudo change owner -R, and we're going to make the owner and the group www-data www-data, and then we're going to do that to our nextcloud folder. So we're going to back up once. We're going to do var www.html nextcloud. Do that to the main folder, and then we're going to set the permission on our data folder. So sudo change mode 750 and on our data folder. So there we go. So now we have permissions and everything. We should be good. So now we can go ahead and navigate to our web page. So let's go ahead and do a 192.168.1 .1.248. Now this is just the address of the Raspberry Pi that I'm using. I set that all up prior. So we're going to do a /nextcloud. Okay, and this should bring us, if everything installed, to the nextcloud place. So we're going to create an admin account, okay, to start with. So I'm going to call it admin. I'm going to give it a password, just whatever I want to use, and then say finish setup. And that's it. That's all you got to do. And that should set it up. We'll give it a few minutes, and it should pop up with the main screen and let us know what's going on. So I'm going to give it a few seconds. Be back when it's ready. Okay, guys, and just like that, we get our safe home for your data, blah, blah, blah. They give you some advertisements and whatnot. But here's the basic interface for the nextcloud. Now I'm not going to go into how to get nextcloud to work and how to create folders and all that. We're worried more about the back end stuff. So now that we've got our nextcloud working, we can go ahead and jump back into here. Now, first things first, we're going to have to install some more stuff. We're going to have to install the RAID software, because now we're going to have to build the actual final location for the data. So to do this, we need to sudo apt get install MDADM. Okay, MDADM. Okay, we need to install that. That is going to be our software RAID that we'll be using. So we're going to say yes to that. And once again, I am going to let it install. Okay, and just like that, it is done installing. So what we're going to do now, is we are going to create the RAID volume. Sorry for blipping everything there. I'm switching screens. We're going to go ahead and create the RAID volume. Okay, so I technically, in my device listing, SD star, I've got SDA and SDB because I have two hard drives plugged into the USB ports. Okay, so I've got A and B, and the SDA 1 means that it's partition 1 because I just have one partition on each one. So partition 1 on SDA and one partition on SDB. So that's what we're going to be using creating this volume. This will RAID the two hard drives together to where they'll be mirrors of each other. So whatever goes on one will get instantly copied to the other one. Okay, so to do this, we're going to do a sudo MDADM create verbose, because I like to see what's happening. We're going to create a new device called MD0. That's going to be our RAID volume. Okay, is that MD0. We're going to do this at level 5. We're going to do RAID devices. This is going to be, oh, wait, my bad. No. The level's going to be, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. level is going to be mirror, because we just want to do a RAID mirror. We don't want to do RAID 5 or 6 or anything. We don't have tons of hard drives, so we're just going to do a simple mirror. Do a mirror, then we're going to do RAID devices, which is just going to be 2. And those 2 devices we list out. So device SDA1 and device SDB1. So now it asks everything's good. So we're going to hit yes, because we want to continue the array build. Okay, so we've got continue array, MDADM defaulting to version 1.2, and then array started. Okay, so it looks like it has built the array. So if we do an LL for it, we should see MD0. So there it is. So there's our MD0. So that has created our array for us. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is we need to confirm our array. So we're going to do a cat of the proc MD stat item. And here we are. So there's our two pieces. So we've got, let's see if I can highlight this for you. So your SDB and your SDA, okay? And what it's actually doing right now, if you notice, it's doing a resync. What this is when it actually synchronizes the 2 disks together, and it even gives you an allotted time. It's going to take about 400 minutes, which, yeah, for USB 2.0, that's a long time. Now, when I did it on my Raspberry Pi 4, it only took about 100 minutes, so only about, a little over an hour and a half to synchronize 1 terabyte. This is synchronizing only 500 gigs. So you can see there is a huge performance difference between the USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. I'm really excited about this to see this, but it was way less. It only took about an hour and a half to resynchronize on the Raspberry Pi version 4. All right, so now that our RAID volume is getting built, what we need to do now is create a file system on that RAID volume. So that way we can start building some stuff, all right? So the first thing we need to do is we need to save the array. So we need to save the array configuration in MDADM. Boy, that's a mouthful. So we're going to sudo and switch user to our root user real quick. And we're going to do an MDADM detail scan. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add that to the end of the etc MDADM.config file. Okay, so we're just going to add our configuration to the end of that config file. And if you want to, you can take and check out that config file. So that way we make sure that we're on there. So there's our array, MD0, Raspberry Pi 0. Okay, so it's there. There's the MD0. That's the one that we want. So it is saved in the configuration. So we are good now. So we can exit out of the super user now, or out of root. And so now we can go ahead and build our file system. So we're going to build this on that MD0 RAID volume. So mkfs.ext4, do an extended for file system, -v for verbose, -m.1-b 4096-e, stride equals 32, stripe width will equal 64 bits, that's fine. And then we're going to do this to dev MD0. Okay, and these are all recommended settings. You can play around with these if you want to. I recommend, yeah, the 4096, 32 stride, and 64 stripe. It's all around good. It works for me. So we're going to hit enter on that one. Oh, permission denied. Of course, permissions denied. Let's do a sudo. And then that should do its thing. So it's going to create blocks, and this is going to take a little bit to go ahead and build that because it's going to have to build the file system. So I will stop and we'll pick back up when it's finished. Okay, and just like that, we are finished. So you should be seeing this group table's done. You should be seeing all these as done if everything went successfully. So now the next piece that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to test if it's going to be mountable. So we're going to sudo mount. We're going to do our device MD0, remember that was our mount, and we'll just stick it in like the mount directory, might as well. and didn't get any errors, so I should be able to go to the mount directory and do a listing. And yeah, there's like a lost and found in there, but it is there. I'm able to change directory to it, so that means that it's working. So now the next thing we need to do is, since we just manually mounted it, we need to make sure that it gets mounted at startup. If we do a DF for disk file system or whatever, I think that's what DF stands for, we see that it's mounted. MD0 is mounted to MNT, and you can do a DF-H if you want, and that'll show that it's about a 500 gig. It'll give it human readable format, and we can see that's 500 gig. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure that this goes whenever we reboot the device. We don't want it to unmount our RAID system. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this to the fstab file. So we're going to cd to the etc folder, okay, and we are going to do a sudo vi of the fstab, okay. And so what this is the file system tabular. So it is where you can define what gets mounted. Of course, the boot is going to be mounted, and so is the slash folder is going to be mounted at startup. So what we're going to do is in here, we're going to add another line, and we're going to do slash device MD0, okay, and we want that to be mounted to the MNT. We want that file extension to be extended 4 for the file system. We want to retain the defaults and do a 0 and a 0. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Right quit that, write that down, and now every time that you reboot, it will automatically mount MD0 to the mount folder, so that way our RAID volume gets mounted every single time, okay? So that is basically it for creating our file system. So now we need to go back to Nextcloud and we need to move our data folder over to our RAID, because right now it's just residing in the var www HTML folder, which is only on the flash drive or flash card that's in the Raspberry Pi, and we don't want that. We want to put that onto our backed up RAID system. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to cd to our RAID folder, okay, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before, is make a directory called nextcloud, right? No. Sudo. So we're going to make that nextcloud directory. We're going to do a sudo move with verbose. We're going to move our var www HTML nextcloud data folder over to this one that we just created, which is just our Nextcloud and data. Oh, Nextcloud folder. Sorry. Okay. Maybe if I do a -I, I can cd to mnt Nextcloud data. There we go. -l. And there's all of our data and stuff back. Okay. So there we is. We can't get to it. So now that that is moved, now we have to tell Nextcloud where we just moved all of its data to. So once we get done moving all that, we need to cd to the var HTML Nextcloud config directory. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of the config, so that way if I botch anything, we can always go back. So we're going to do a sudo copy config.php to config.php.back. I don't know, just so we have a backup. Now we're going to do a sudo, we're going to vi or edit it, php, and then we're going to come in here, we're going to tell it where the new directory is. So right here, we're going to delete this one out and put our /mnt in. So that way, that is our mounted directory. Okay, so once we get that finished, we're going to write that in. Okay, and that should save our new directory. So now what we need to do is we need to do some other housekeeping things. So we're going to increase the max upload size, as well as we're going to allow some HT access. We're going to allow some access to where we can do a self-signed certificate and other little housekeeping things that just kind of secures up our place and makes it easy to use. So to increase the max upload size, it's set by default by Apache to like 8 megabytes. Well, that's, you know, we want to upload movies and stuff, so we want, you know, big. So what we're going to do is we're going to sudo and we're going to vi the etc php 7.3 apache 2 php.ini file. All right, so inside here, you should find something called post max size, and there it is. So we're going to change that. Instead of 8 megabytes, we're going to do, let's see, 4096. So that way we can do 4 gigs at a shot. Why not? And then the next one, you want to do the upload max file size, and we'll do the same thing. We'll make it 4096 megabytes as well. All right, so that way something big. You can go higher, whatever you want to do. You could do 81, what is it, 8192 is the next one, or 16384, or 32768, or whatever you want to do. 4096, I mean 4 gigs, that's quite a bit to upload. So I think that's good. We're going to right quit that, so that saves that in. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to, oh, my speakers are on. We need to restart our service, so that way that takes effect. So we're going to do a sudo service Apache 2 restart, okay? And then that will restart. So now that INI file is loaded in with all the PHP stuff, and we're good to go. So now we're going to do some self-signed certificates and things like that to get the HTTPS or get the SSL security stuff going. So first thing we need to do for that is we need to configure the HT access override, okay? So we're going to do a sudo, so that way we have access to be able to switch up the URL. So when you type in something with just normal HTTP, it'll switch it to HTTPS. So we got to allow that first. So that's what we're doing now. So we're going to do sudo vi of the etc apache 2.config file. So once we get into this config file, we need to find directory var. It's a capital D, my bad. Directory. There we go. Oops. Okay, this one. We're going to come down here to this allow override, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to take that none out, and we're going to want to say all, okay? And so we're going to save that. That's all you got to do. Just change that to all. Okay, and so then that allows that to be overridden. So now we're going to do our normal sudo service Apache 2 restart. You will really get good at restarting Apache after this is all over with. So now we're going to go ahead and set up our SSL. So we need to build ourselves a self-signed certificate. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to make a directory. So we're going to sudo make directory. In the etc Apache 2 directory, we'll make an SSL directory. Okay. So now we're going to build out our SSL stuff that we're going to be doing. So let me get the command up here in front of my face. So we're going to perform a sudo open SSL req-x509-nodes-days 365 days. Go more, but usually you want to renew your keys every year. You don't want to go much longer than that. New key RSA 4096. So 4096 encryption. That's pretty good. That's what, 12-bit encryption. So that's pretty good. I mean, you could make it crazy and do 128-bit if you want to, but I mean that's just insane. So 12 bits I think is enough. So key out. So we want to put the destination for the output key is going to be in our etc Apache 2 SSL directory, and we're going to call it apache.key. So we're going to call it. Now we need just the normal certificate out, so we're going to do -out, and that's going to go in the same folder, etc Apache 2 SSL, and we'll call it apache.crt. All right. And that's pretty much all you gotta do. Now, this will go ahead and generate the key. It's gonna ask you some questions. I'm gonna pause the video while it's generating the key, and then when it gets to the questions, I'll show you what I do to answer those. And just like that, the key has been generated. So now it's gonna ask, so country, I'm in the US, state or province name, I'm in Kansas, city, Wichita, organization name, MI Sperry. And then organizational unit, don't have one, so I just leave it blank. Common name, your name, I don't want to put my name out there, so I'll just leave it alone. Email address, nah, not needed, just leave it blank. Okay, so there we are. So now the keys are generated. So now the next thing that we will need to do is we will need to go down here and we'll need to start activating us. So activating all of this. So first things first, we need to enable the SSL module for Apache. So we're going to do a sudo a2enmod SSL. That will enable the SSL module so it can do the certificate thing. Then we're going to need to edit the config files so that we can tell it where our certificates are. So sudo vi the etc Apache 2 sites available, and then there is a default SSL.config file that we're going to edit. So we're going to open that up, and inside this file we need to find our SSL certificate. There they are. All right, so these two. So we need to point to our files that we have. So I'm going to delete this one, and it's going to be in etc. We put it in Apache 2 SSL, and then this is the certificate, so apache.crt. Then we're going to do the exact same thing for the key, except we're going to point it to key file, etc Apache 2 SSL apache.key. That's what we did. All right, so now we can save that, so that tells it where the keys are. So we'll go ahead and save that. Now what we need to do is we can enable the default SSL configuration and then restart the service. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a sudo a2 enable site default ssl.config. So we enable that. So to reload Apache 2. Okay, so it even tells you to reload it. So sudo service Apache 2 restart. So we should be good. All right, so now we should be able to get to it with HTTPS. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So we're going to do https://192.168.1.248/nextcloud. Okay, hit enter. Now you're going to get this. It says it's not private. What this is because we did a self-signed certificate. So it's going to do this. It's still secure, but since it's self-signed, it can't verify the origin. I'm not registered with the certificate. I'm not a registered certificate, so that's why this is doing this. So you just hit the advance. You click this. It says, "Oh, it's unsafe," but it's fine. It's secured. But this way, you'll be able to, it says not secure. And the reason it's saying that it's not secure is because it can't verify the origin of the certificate. But trust me, it is using the RSA key. So this should load. It may take it a second to load up through the, it always takes a little bit to do this since it's all encrypted now. But it should load. Once you're good with that, then we will do an extra step to where if you want to force always to use SSL, see here it goes. If you want to force it to where it will always use SSL, then I'll show you how to do that in this next little piece. Well, good grief, that is taking a while. It's so amazing once you get one of the new Raspberry Pis. There we go. That move a lot faster than the other one. It's just like the other one's just dog slow. It just blows your mind. So there it is. It finally loaded, and we've got the HTTPS. So now, if we want to force it where there's no way somebody could type, see, like I can still type HTTP and then go and do an unsecured way. Well, if I want to force security, you can go ahead and do this, which I like to do. So we're going to do a sudo vi of the etc Apache 2 sites available, and then there is the 000 default config. Okay, so now in here you're going to comment out everything. So I'm going to comment this out, comment out that, down, that, what else, that. Okay, and we're going to add a little bit of our own code. Okay, and this is also in that link down below, so you don't have to type all of this, but I will go ahead and type it. Virtual host 80, and then we want server admin, and I'm just going to put example, if I can spell, for now. And then I'm going to say rewrite engine. I'm going to turn that on. Rewrite condition is going to be %HTTPS off, and then we want the rewrite rule, our new rule, to match pretty much anything. Oh, whoops. You got to get this perfectly right. Otherwise, if the syntax of this is wrong, you'll get errors when you restart the service. HTTPS, we want to rewrite that to HTTPS, and then anything HTTP host $1 and whatever equals 301, comma L, just like this. And then we have our backslash or slash virtual host. And that's basically all you need to do. And this will enable the replacement where if someone goes to HTTP, it'll immediately rewrite it. That's what this rewrite's for, and switch it around to HTTPS. Okay, so let's right quit that. And then of course we need to enable the rewriting. So we're going to do a sudo apache 2 enable module rewrite. Okay, and that will do that. So now we got, again, restart Apache. So sudo service apache 2 restart. All right, so now if I try to go over here and I try to do just normal HTTP ://192.168.248/nextcloud, when I hit enter, it immediately redirects me to the HTTPS. Did you see that? So it immediately redirects. So now we've got it where it forces that. Now we should be pretty much good to go for everything. Now, the second thing that I want to do is I want to be able to access this from outside. Well, what you can do is you can do your dynamic DNS, like DuckDNS or something like that. And let's say that you have something that's like, I don't know, mycloud.duckdns.org. Okay. Let's say that is our deal. So it's like mycloud.duckdns.org, and that is your outside, dynamic DNS, right? So that way you can just go to that on your phone when you're away, and it'll get to you. This is how you do this. Since we're using HTTPS uses port 443. Okay, so it doesn't use the normal port 80. It's a different port. So I like that because my ISP where I'm from blocks port 80. Okay, so you can't use port 80 where I'm at, or at least not from outside coming in. They block it. But they don't block 443 because it's a secured connection using SSL. So what we need to do is first we need to allow your domain name to come in. Nextcloud actually has a configuration that if the domain isn't in the trusted domains, it will not use it. Okay. Now you could use your external IP address if you want to. If you have a static IP, you can do like whatsmyip.com or something like that, and it'll give you your outside address. But most of us use, most of the ISPs give it to you through DHCP, which is a dynamic address, which could change. So that's where I recommend DuckDNS or something like that for a dynamic service to where you keep it updated all the time. Anyway, let's pretend that we've got this. It's my cloud, so I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And then this is where you go put it so that Nextcloud will allow you in. So we're going to do a sudo vi of the var www.html. And we're going to go back to our Nextcloud config folder, and we're going to be in the config.php. Okay, just like we had before. Now, up here, you'll see this trusted domains right here. Now, the first one is obviously its local address is trusted. What we're going to do is we're going to drop down and we're going to create a next one. These go in sequence. You can have multiple ones if you want to. Equals. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, put that in. Oh, that didn't copy right. It's going to be, what did we say? It was mycloud.duckdns.org. Let's say, put a comma. Don't forget the comma. It won't work right if you don't have the comma. And then we right quit that. So voila. So that's now saved, and that's basically kind of like port forwarding your Nextcloud, whatever it's called. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to port forward your router. Now, many of you maybe know how to do this. I can show you really quick on mine. I'm going to pull mine up real quick for you guys so you can see it. Okay, so on the router that I have, I've got some ports forwarded, so I just hit add profile. You give it a name, Nextcloud, let's say. It asks what protocol do you want this to forward around. You're going to say both. both protocols. The external port is 443 because that's the the HTTPS port. Internal port is optional. I'd go ahead and type it in 443, but then you're going to give the IP address of your Pi. So 192.168.1.8.1.248. Okay, would be what it would be. And then that's it. You just say okay. And what that does is when your network address translation happens in your router will see if you come from the outside with port 443, it goes, oh, okay, port 4 information on port 443. All right, I'll translate that and move it and give it to IP address 192.168.1.248, which is the address of our nextcloud Pi, and on port 443 because that's what we specified as the internal port. So it basically forwards that from the outside to the inside based on what you tell it to do. So that's basically how you do that. And you should be able to get to it from outside your system. All right. So now some key things to remember. I'll put a link down in the description for a cheat sheet for RAID, for your RAID array. So that way if you have a disk degrade or die, or you need to remove a disk or reinsert a disk or things like that, if you need to do stuff like that, there are some very helpful tips that are out there on the internet. I'll see if I can pull up one of them. It's basically a cheat sheet that I found. Here we are. That gives you a bunch of different commands for the RAID stuff. One that is very good to check with is this MDADM detail. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if you want to check the status of your RAID array, maybe see the health of it, you can do an sudo MDADM detail on your volume. So device MD0. When you hit enter, we'll see that we're still resyncing, 6% complete. We're still resyncing. And it even says resyncing, active and resyncing, okay? And then it even shows you SDA1 and SDA2, okay? Shows you that they're the RAID devices and where they're at, shows you the capacity of them and all that stuff. Any case, guys, thank you very much for sticking with me. Ooh, I smacked the microphone. Thank you very much for staying with me through this entire video. I know this one was kind of a long one because there's so many different bits and pieces. If you have any questions, definitely check the links down below because they're literally step by step. I'll also be building an Instructable. I'll release that out and let everybody know when that happens. So that way you have that step-by-step guide as well and everything where you can cut and paste things. Watching it on a video is a little difficult to type along and watch at the same time, but at least this gives you an overview of how to create your very own cloud. If you want me to go over the app, I think the app is fairly self-explanatory. You just put your URL in there, your HTTPS, and then your URL, and hit go, and then it syncs up and to your cloud and pulls whatever you want onto your phone. I will probably, because this video has gotten long, do a separate video on the performance, and we'll do some streaming, and we'll stream some videos and things like that through the two different ones and see which one's faster. I guarantee that the USB3, so the Raspberry Pi 4, will probably be the fastest one, definitely. But it'd be fun to see what kind of limit it has. I've got quite a few different tablets and things that I could probably stream a bunch of stuff from, and we'll see how it holds up. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure and check out the links down below for the t-shirts. Check out t-shirts. I got a lot of new t-shirts. Think you guys are going to really enjoy them, especially those of us that are total engineering nerds. You will totally love the t-shirts that I got going on. So check those out down below, as well as check out being a patron. I've got one more video to make to finish out the series on programming in C, so definitely check out that. Become a patron, you get free access to those videos. I basically teach you how to do things. The next one is going to be basic circuitry. I'm going to be teaching about Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's voltage law, Kirchhoff's current law, mesh analysis, node analysis. Basically all that stuff is going to be coming up for the next series on just basic circuitry, so you don't want to miss out. So check out that Patreon link down below. It's only $1 a day and you get access, or $1 a day, so excuse me, $1 a month. Yeah, that would be bad. $1 a month is the lowest tier, and you get access to that information. So definitely check that out. All right, guys, I'm out. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. Check me out on all the different social medias. And with that, that ought to do it. I will see you next time.